Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pokemon review series. In this episode, we're going over one of the more bizarre Pokemon in the game, and one that I've honestly been kind of procrastinating because I don't even know necessarily how to talk about this Pokemon, and that is the Togekiss. Now, Togekiss is a bit bizarre. It's Fairy type, snoozing, as is typical for Fairy types, and Skills specialty. Uh, it really is the best at what it does, but what it does is so weird that I don't know how to properly evaluate this Pokemon. It's the most random Pokemon in the world, but we'll get right into that. So, 5.3% skill trigger rate, with a 43-minute, 20-second frequency. That's not that bad. That actually procs a decent amount. And 16 inventory is decent for a 3-stage Pokemon, because that gets 21 after 1 stage of evolution, 26 after 2, 34 after ribbons if you get it to max level ribbon. Um, but yeah, 5.3% proc rate and a 15.8% ingredient rate. That really doesn't matter all that much, but that is pretty low, honestly. So it's not going to be producing that many ingredients, which is something that a lot of players want on it since they think that the eggs is going to be pretty nice. Unfortunately, with this low of an ingredient rate, it's really not going to be making many of those eggs, so I really wouldn't be considering the ingredients all too much. Although I have the ingredient discussion before I get into the skill. Um, it's nice for desserts. I mean, it's got some actually really nice synergy with cacao and eggs, and also cacao, eggs, and ginger, all three being in the same meal if you're making this meal. Um, but cacao and eggs is pretty synergistic. Ginger is kind of the odd one out there, but overall, it's producing such a small amount of these ingredients that it's really not a consideration in the slightest. But yeah, now, the real discussion is about Metronome. It's got the skill Metronome, which is a fun skill for sure, but is just too random to really be meta. If you want to make a metronome team, make a metronome team. There's some fun ideas with the fairies, because you could theoretically have like a Wigglytuff, and then like a Togekiss, perhaps, and like some Clefairy for berries. If you're at Cyan Beach, then you could maybe get a lot of strength out of it, and it could be kind of fun because then if the Togekiss, if Metronome calls Helper Boost, then that creates a funny interaction where it's Fairy type Helper Boost, which is real interesting, but it's going to be doing that so rarely that it's not really a consideration when calculating strength, especially because if you want to be counting on those Helper Boost procs, one Togekiss isn't going to ever produce enough of any one skill to be able to count on it for anything. Now, if the skill rate gets multiplied by, say, an event, like pretty soon we have as of the time of recording this video, we have the Super Skills event coming up, then it might do well. It might proc enough that you could reasonably reach the amounts that you want to be reaching with it for producing enough energies to sustain a team if you have multiple Togekiss. And I discussed that more in my strategy guide video for the Super Skills Week event, but it's still super duper random, and basically there's no real strategy you can play into with the Togekiss because you're just kind of at the whim of what the Togekiss decides to do for the day. It's certainly a very fun skill to do, but I wouldn't recommend it for any kind of meta usage because it's just too unreliable. Theoretically, you could have a week where it just procs nothing but Helper Boost, and that would be awesome and insane, and you'd get a lot of strength out of that, especially if you're running that fairy team and you're at like Cyan Beach. But overall, it's so random that you can't count on it to do that, and you may have a week where you just proc nothing but Dream Shard Magnet or Self Recharge. You don't know what it's going to do, and that's the biggest problem with it. So yeah. Now, if you want to hunt Togekiss, or Togetic, or Togepi, Togekiss only exists at Greengrass. It's one of the only Pokemon that are like that. But its pre-evolutions, Togepi and Togepi's at top and Snowdrop and Lapis, and Togetic is at Snowdrop and Lapis. So, honestly, if you want Togepi candy, you'd probably want to go to either Snowdrop or Lapis to encounter either the Togepi or the Togetic. Just because even though Togekiss happens at Greengrass, It's a rarer spawn being fully evolved, and the pool is so watered down there at Greengrass that you're not really going to be encountering that many of any of these three. But if you go to Snowdrop or Lapis, then you can encounter at least these two to get those candies. Now, anyway, that's pretty much all there is to discuss about Togekiss. There's a lot of funny things that can happen, but it's all random. So there's not really anything to say, oh, this will happen if you're on the Togekiss, because we don't know. So that's really all I really wanted to say about it after thinking about how to make this video for quite some time. And yeah, if you have enjoyed the video and maybe learned something, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And as always, I thank you guys for watching and hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.